welcome to our Bhagavad Gita study session. We're here along our journey of chapter 9, and today doing a session in a slightly different format. So bring some change for today's session. Of course, we'll start off with our opening invocation prayer that Mummy will lead us through, and then we'll move on with today's content. Mummy, I'll bring up the slides momentarily, and over to you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe everybody, and a very warm welcome to our Bhagavad Gita study session. Let's start with a prayer to Guru, Lord Krishna and Radha Rani. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudevasutam Devam Kansachanurmardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Vande Vrindavanananda Radhikam Parameshwari Gopikam Paramam Shodham Ladinim Shakti Rupini. So over to you, Gagan.
Thank you, Mummy, and Radhe Radhe once again to everyone. Welcome again to Bhagavad Gita study, where over the next 55 minutes, we're actually going to converse, as you all hopefully saw in the flyer that I'll bring up here again for everyone's benefit. Right here, hope you all saw that on either the community portal page or the WhatsApp group or other social media platforms they might have put it on. So it just has, simple 2 words here. Let's converse. Of course, there's on the top right, if you caught that, it's telling us where we have covered through, last week. So chapter 9, verses 1 through 19. And just to play on the words or the letters, the capitalization, V here, of course, is capitalized. So we shall be conversing, but about, of course, verses, no doubt, of the Bhagavad Gita. Nothing that we wanted anyone to prepare for or get tense about or scramble and go through other things. It's really a dialogue that we hope many of you will participate in one by one. It's good to see some of you are on video, and I do hope that more of you can also be on video, at a minimum, at least when it's your turn, that when you're talking. That just helps make it even more engaging for all the participants as well. Otherwise, it's the usual joke that Zoom is full of a lot of black boxes. So that just helps everyone stay, engaged and have more interactivity. So what we'll do is I'll probably start us off just to give you all a little bit of time to open up your various versions of Swamiji's book, Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God, his commentary, whichever format you use, as well as now live, of course, you can go through your notes, especially for those who have been attending a few of the sessions of chapter 9. There's no hard and fast answer or rule as such, but just in terms of guidance. As I said, I'll start first to set the stage. Mummy will go next. We'll hopefully inspire you a little bit. But beyond that, we want to just hear from most of you one by one. Tell us about one or more of the verses between chapter 9, verses 1 through 19, that hold special value for you. They're meaningful for you, or you learned something that you didn't know before, or it's something that you've had a chance to see a connection with in the past few weeks, maybe through a different scripture or a different situation. Could be something you implemented on a personal basis. Could be a verse where the commentary perhaps had some interesting story or anecdote or reference that you found endearing or interesting. Or even at a minimum, it could be a new word that you learned, whether it's in Sanskrit or it's in English. So hopefully lots of different parameters there. You don't have to pick all of them. Just pick 1 or 2 such parameters, but tell us about a verse for whichever reason or reasons you find that meaningful or it is special for you. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. I'll talk about chapter 9, verse 12, which then I ought to bring up on the screen. So right here, we have the ebook version we always share. So Swamiji's Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. We're not quizzing anyone today. So no quiz questions, no recap quiz, etc. Therefore, we know chapter 9 is, of course, Raj Vidya Yog, Yog through the King of Sciences. Within these first 19 verses, I'll talk about chapter 9, verse 12, which to me I thought is, of course, special in the sense that it does pertain to several of us, of course, in the world. As we have learned through other chapters and Swamiji's lectures and videos, it's actually almost everyone in the world, because being at a stage of reaching towards God realization or being able to recognize or see God and, to see God in everyone, that's just extremely difficult. So here it explains why that happens. And that's again, of course, because of one of God's special powers is several energies of those. One of them is our, as we often say, maybe friend, Maya, right? So Maya, as Swamiji has said, I think in one of the commentaries, I believe chapter 5 or 6, Maya is like that guard dog. You go to let's say you go to your friend's house and there's a big guard dog there preventing you from getting past. And only when the master, in this case, the owner, and we all know that's, of course, God says, Maya, let go of this person, release him or her to me. When those clutches are gone, then that happens, of course, through the grace of God. Only then can we get past, of course, in this case, in the story, to enter the house, in the spiritual sense, of course, to have that meeting, that union, that connection with God. So it is Maya, it is this material energy that bewilders most of us. And then, of course, as Sri Krishna says, as we see in the translation, then people embrace demoniac and or atheistic views. And so after that, the second sentence has a lot of good descriptors. It's a deluded state. And as a result, three things that we need to remember that we see happening to us that we want to get away from bit by bit. As Mummy often says, those small, incremental, or baby steps we keep taking and want to take along our spiritual journeys, we want to get away from having our hopes for welfare be in vain. Likewise, fruitive actions, so karma kand that we've often talked about, or rituals, we want to make sure that those are not wasted. And in fact, there's two thoughts, right? One is people still perform those, and many times there's a suitable purpose. But again, if all that is done for purification and for the intention towards loving God, then those fruitive actions need not be wasted. And finally, the culture of knowledge is baffled. Again, we want to get away from that. I liked this one because we talked about it back then. Culture here is referring to worship. So just again, sole worship of knowledge, only theoretical gyan or nyan, and focusing just on those technicalities. All that again leads to a state of bafflement. So again, there was a commentary, of course, a couple of paragraphs. And again, the takeaway for this verse, amongst many others as well, is that we have to be engaging in devotion, engaging in bhakti. And because this is connected with being able to recognize God in the form version, the form aspect, the aspect that has a form, the avatars, the loving form, and not only the formless aspect. Swamiji concludes by telling us here that, again, bhakti, devotion to that formless aspect, is extremely difficult. So that's why God gives us the opportunities by taking those avatars, or even manifesting through saints or through all the festivals we celebrate. Last week in the video we had seen through Churn and Learn, there was the example Swamiji gave about celebrating Janmashtami. God left that for us. He appeared on earth. He took that birth, the divine manifestation, to allow us to be able to celebrate Janmashtami year after year, which coincidentally is coming up fairly soon, maybe a month or less from now, 3, 4 weeks. So all that gives us opportunities to be able to participate in those leelas, those activities. So devotion, bhakti, to love God, so that, again, as the verse, chapter 9, verse 12 says, we are not deluded, our hopes for welfare are not in vain, our fruitive actions are not wasted, and our culture of knowledge, our worship of knowledge is not baffled. So that is my verse I wanted to talk about briefly, chapter 9, verse 12. Mummy, I'll hand it over to you, and I'll also say, again, everyone gets a few more minutes while they are gathering any notes or recollection, memory, etc., of a verse they liked. And even if someone repeats a verse, that's totally fine, because, of course, a verse may be liked by many different people. So don't let that be a distractor for anyone. So with that, Mummy, your turn.
Thank you, Gagan. So we realize that you like verse number 12. What happens with me? I have liked verse number 3. So if you can show me verse number 3, I would want to talk about that. Yeah. So verse number 3, let me sing it also, if you don't mind. Ashraddhana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapya. Gagan, I want to see the verse, please. No, I read from Sanskrit. Sorry. I'm not used to reading from English translation.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah, okay. Ashraddhana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Sansara Vartmani. So basically, what is happening in this verse? Krishna is saying people who have no faith, okay, they are unable to attain me. So the first point for all of us, what is it? To have faith. When we start on this path of God realization, first thing is to have faith. Like in science, in other things, in mathematics, they assume certain things, right? Then only they move on the proof. Similarly, we all have to learn. Why are we always asking or thinking that there is no God? Let's have faith and then move further. So what is happening? Krishna is saying that he is all pervading. He's everywhere in this universe. Everything that we see, it is being pervaded by God. The only thing is we are not able to see him. He is not directly perceptible. What do we do to do that? See, Swamiji gives a very beautiful example here. Like everybody knows that there is butter in the milk. But when we see milk, do we see butter? No, we cannot see. Why? Because there is a process to get that butter out of that milk, right? When we make yogurt out of milk, then we churn it, and then the butter comes out. And then when that butter is heated, then we get clarified ghee. Similarly, there is a process to see that God who is not directly perceptible. What is the process? The process is that we start acquiring the knowledge about God. See, whenever we have something, suppose somebody finds on a beach a ring. Okay, so he picks it up and so he thinks, okay, it must be $10 here. But the next day when he goes to a jeweler, the jeweler says, oh, this is diamond. This is costing so much. Oh, so now this person has more value for that ring. But the third day he meets his own relative who is in diamond business. That person tells him that, oh my God, this is a very, very precious diamond. Now you see this person having great value for that same ring. Similarly, when we acquire knowledge from the scriptures, from great saints, and then we really understand the value of that knowledge, that is when we will have more faith. So similarly, then you can what we are doing similarly. So when there is a process for God realization, right? So what is the process? The first step is to read scriptures, to acquire knowledge through saints. Then saints teach us to do kirtan, japa. Then saints teach us to do rup dhyan, meditation, by bringing the form of deity in front of you. So with great focus in life, with a great routine in life, which we are going to learn from Swamiji again in this week through Patanjali Yoga Sutras. As we all know, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, there are a lot of fundamental things that we learn for our life, yam, niyam. If we follow those niyams, routines in our life, and along with that, asana, yoga, meditation, japa, kirtan, acquiring knowledge, listening to saints, reading Bhagavad Gita, then what happens? Then this is the process that slowly, our mind starts getting attached to that God, the all pure God. And that is how slowly we can perceive that God. So for me, verse number 3 is very, very important, whereby Krishna himself is saying that God is all pervading. This universe has been created by God. We can see God everywhere. We can see God in each other because God is sitting in our hearts, right? We all have learned that, right? So we have to start having equal vision and start seeing that all pervasive God everywhere. So I'll give it to Gagan back and we can have another participant.
Thank you, Mummy. So yeah, so far chapter 9, verse 12 and verse 3. And again, as we said, if someone repeats a verse, that's fine as well. I'll first point everyone to the Zoom chat window where I am just sending and have sent a series of links that many of you are familiar with. But if it is your first time or you have missed this before, please do take a look. The slides that, ironically, none today, but the ones we share every week in our sessions, those are all available through the first link. So that is the JKYog community portal for this specific series. And then the second one, please, if you are new or if it's the first time in this session, please do fill out the attendance tracker. I've genuinely seen a lot of benefits from it when people fill it, and then I can just send them the first time a message just to say hello, Radhe, and to introduce them to the portal page and just important, JKYog links. And then people get in touch after that. They might have a question sometimes on administrative or logistic things or a technical, scriptural question. It really helps build that dialogue and community also. So that's the second link, simple form, the attendance tracker. And finally, the recap videos that Anuji, others would also mentioning. That, of course, is something a lot of you seem to use, and hopefully that works well. All that is in a single playlist, which is the third link. All right, so now we shall definitely move on to participant contributions. I do see Mrinalji's hand is raised. Mrinalji, are you able to come on video like you normally do? And if you can, we shall then unmute you. Tell us about, a verse that is meaningful to you and briefly why.
Radhe Radhe, Gaganji, Meenuji, for a wonderful, blissful session and very enlightening. So for me, the verse number 14 of chapter 9, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantasya drudhavrataha namasyantasya mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. So here Swamiji is saying, the translation is always singing my divine glories, striving with great determination and humbly bowing down before me They constantly worship me in loving devotion. So this is very, I love this verse because I am, I am in the kirtan mode all the time. I love to hear Maharaj's kirtans 24/7. I like to chant these kirtans and meditate. So for me, the means of meditation is listening to kirtan all the time. And Swamiji's beautiful commentary is also there. So thank you so much, Radhe Radhe.
Awesome, Mrinalji. Yes, very nice. So you sing beautifully. You were here for family camp, and I saw your bhakti mode and your singing capabilities. Wonderful. You are always in chanting kirtan mode. Now, you said that your meditation is through kirtan. So when we look at this commentary, there are three important words in this commentary. Let's all remind ourselves. What are the three words that we learned in this commentary? One is Shravan, that means listening. One is Kirtan, that means chanting. And through that, what happens? Smaran. Smaran means now remembering God. That is why she is able to do meditation through Kirtan only. And what are these Kirtans? Maharaji's Kirtans are all based on philosophy. And Roop, Leela, Gun, Dham, Sant. In all his Kirtans, what he has done? He is singing the glories of that Supreme Lord. When we sing those glories, automatically what happens in front of our eyes? That Krishna comes playing his leelas, doing his pastimes, and automatically we are lifted. Our souls are elevated, and we get into that meditation mode. That means our mind is then away from this external world. We move inwards. We connect with that God who is sitting in our heart, and our mind is attached. And that is when we move on this path of God realization. So what do you do there? Combining my verse 3 and your verse 14. What are we doing here? We are exercising our free will. Swamiji has in many of the verses commentary, he has mentioned about free will. God has given us. One thing is our destiny. Another thing is our free will. With our free will, we can have faith in God and move on this path of God realization. So we need to exercise our free will, have faith in God, and move. Wonderful. Thank you, Brinalji. Wonderful. Radhe
So
Radhe.
much, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe
Yes.
Radhe.
Thank you, Mrinalji. And I can't resist, but I find it really cute, Mrinalji, that Mickey Mouse is also attending Bhagavad Gita with us, if you don't mind my mentioning that.
Gagan notices some very minute things.
It
Okay.
just big screen, it came up, but I felt it's an honor.
So cute.
And my Krishna is over there, if you can
Oh,
see him.
oh
Oh,
yes.
look at that.
Lovely. Yeah.
A big TV
So
connected.
yes, I
Wow.
keep looking at the TV and since I don't find any, I try to steal some time to just sit on my bike. I'm sorry, but I'm all the time watching the Sri Krishna and focusing on the TV, so that's I can read the Bhagavad Gita verses nicely.
Wow, wonderful arrangement, Mrinalji. And today we have two participants from Toronto. Lisa ji is also joining us today from Toronto. Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. So our community is from all over the world, and we are all getting connected very closely on this platform. Thank you all. Okay, we'll move to the next participant.
All right. Yeah. Once again, thank you, Mrinalji. So next up, do we have a volunteer with or without Minnie Mouse? But anyone who wants to tell us about a verse that holds special meaning to them? You can raise your hand using the Zoom feature. It's about the 28-minute mark here. So hopefully everyone has had enough time to think through or go through notes, etc. So Bilji, we'll start off with you. Good morning. Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Radhe Radhe. I'm looking at verse number 2. I'll read it. This knowledge is the king of sciences and the most profound of all secrets. It purifies those who hear it. It is directly realizable in accordance with Dharma, easy to practice and everlasting in effect. So this gives an overview of the knowledge that's being presented, and I find it appealing. I almost selected number 3, but I went with this instead. So I'll let perhaps Gaganji or Minuji comment further on this.
All right. Thank you so much. Gracious as well. You took initially verse 3 and then made it verse 2. So yeah, Mummy, were you adding something first?
Yeah, so I can talk about this verse also. So basically, as we all know, chapter 6 was Dhyan Yoga. After that, 7 and 8, Krishna started talking about the real knowledge, okay, that we have to. So there was Jnana Vignan Yoga and there was Akshar Brahma Yoga. He's now telling about that he is everything. And in chapter 9, in this verse, he is now telling us the real secret knowledge. Okay? Krishna himself is saying, because he told Arjun that since Arjun, you are non-envious, you are anasuyave. Okay? Because you will not think that when I will talk about my glories, you are not going to think that I am snobbish. It is the real truth that I am telling you. And then here he tells that this Vidya, it is the Raja Vidya, okay? Because this chapter's name is Raj Vidya Yoga. This is the king of sciences, Raj Vidya, okay? Then Guhya means it's a very secret knowledge. And it is because of Arjun, we are all also getting an opportunity to listen to this. And this knowledge is very pavitram. It is very pure, okay? This knowledge of devotion is very pure. And what does it teach us? Okay, because of devotion, what happens? There are 3 things happen, you know. So that bhakti, when we do bhakti, it purifies. What 3 things? It purifies pap, bij, and avidya. Pap means all the sins that we have done. Then bij is the seeds of those sins. The seeds are always there. We keep on committing sins and we don't even realize. And the third thing is avidya. Avidya means ignorance. We have been ignorant. We didn't even know what is right, what is wrong, how life should be lived. It is only now through Bhagavad Gita, through Krishna's Upadesh, instructions to Arjun, we are all also learning, right? So this verse is very important because Krishna is explaining. Then he says pratyaksh. Pratyaksh means directly perceptible. Krishna is giving us the formula by which we can really see that God, and that is what we are learning. And then this is all very virtuous. It is very good because we are now learning that we don't have to do anything for rewards. We are not interested in any rewards. We are just doing for the love of God, and we are offering everything at the lotus feet of God. Once we get that Vidya, this secret Vidya, then that means we are winning the battle. And then this Vidya, this devotion is Kartum Susukham. Kartum Susukham means it is very easy to practice. And actually you all understand when we get into the bhakti mode, it is the easiest. And that is the easiest way to get attached to God and for God realization. So I'll give chance to others to speak.
Yes, thank you, Mummy. Thank you again, Bilji. And Dilji, I saw your hand go up in between. Was that to participate for a verse or comment something here right now?
Just that I had. So first I picked verse 15.
Okay.
Then I picked verse 1. And Meenuji was speaking about some of the things that are also in verse 1. So I thought maybe to comment at that point, but I can wait. Chandru had her hand up first.
Okay, I thought I'll just check. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, no worries. You can choose the same verse. You may have little different views, and what you may talk, we would love to hear that. So no worries. The same verse can be repeated, but the verses have to be from chapter 9, 1 to 19, because this is the chapter we have been going through right now. And in between, we went for one churn and learn session, and today is the new version. Let's converse, because we really want to get the gist of these verses. We don't want to keep on moving fast ahead. Okay, so we are making use of the opportunity. So Chandruji, you can, it is open book conversation. You can choose one of the verses from 1 to 19 of chapter 9, and you can talk about that.
Yes, and
Because she messaged me, she is not clear about the chapter.
okay.
And Dalji, so while Chandruji is still thinking about the verse, you can go ahead.
So first, I would like to thank you, Meenuji and Gaganji, for this course, because it really opens up an opportunity to not just read the Bhagavad Gita, but to study it, which means to take it in and understand it more deeply and to actually apply it to everyday life. And I think I've been with you from the beginning. Even before you were on Zoom, you had some telephone conferences where you were teaching Bhagavad Gita. And there were so few opportunities, some few years ago, to meet online and to learn more about the Bhagavad Gita. But you and Gagan were two of the first teachers that were offering that through JKYog and from Dallas area. So thank you for all the tours that we've had of the different chapters and the beautiful connection that you make between the verses and studying them, and then also the chanting. I know you have another class, which generally meets after this one later in the day on Saturdays, where you're teaching also how to chant, because the chanting, it just takes the verse and brings it deep into the heart, and allows us to express it, come out like that. And using the intellect here to deeply understand everything, and using the quiz questions to bring it out is really nice. So thank you for this course. So I can just make a few more comments about the very first verse. I probably like all the verses. It reminds me of going to someone's house one year on Mother's Day. Some young boy was there while I'm waiting to get something from the mother and the father. He wants to show me his toy trucks, matchbox trucks, and he brings me the first one and he says, "This is my favorite," and then he brings the second one, the red one, not the green one, and says, "This went on for like 10, 12 trucks. They're each one his favorite." So it's like that for these 19 verses, but it begins with Krishna speaking, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, in this first verse of the whole chapter. And the beauty of it is that he's speaking in this verse. He's saying, the Supreme Lord said, "O Arjun, because you're not envious of me, I shall now impart to you this very confidential knowledge and wisdom, upon knowing which you will be released from miseries of material existence." So basically, he's telling Arjuna, I'm willing to share something with you. And the reason is because Krishna is humble. That means he's not envious of Arjuna. I remember when we were looking at this verse that my husband Bill said, if you have humility or you have humbleness, there's no room for enviousness at that time. So Arjuna is so humble when he's around Krishna. And it's so amazing because not only is he in the middle of this big war, but he's probably one of the biggest devotional personalities of the time period. in the sense that he's such an expert archer, he's such an expert warrior, he's expert in everything that he does. He's also expert, it seems, in providing an example to us of being a disciple and of being there and being receptive and humble so that we can take in the knowledge that is being offered to us. So in this first verse, I just really like how Krishna is explaining that there's so much love. This is really what it amounts to. There's so much love, there's so much devotion from Arjuna to Krishna, from Krishna to Arjuna, that Krishna feels that he can come forward and bring out this knowledge. And all we can say is thank God that Arjuna was like this, because how many of us would have been able to hear this Gita without him? So that's all for now. Radhe, Radhe.
Thank you so much, Daleji, Radha Radha. And again, very kind and gracious of you. But again, it's all blessings and grace of God and Guru, Swamiji, to, be able to give us all this platform to be connected, to either facilitate or engage as a participant and, have all this wholehearted spiritual dialogue. But again, thank you so much, Daleji. I will try to definitely remember the word tour that you said. That's very poignant. So thank you again. Interesting verse, of course, that you picked, and I'll get to your Matchbox story in a minute as well, Matchbox or Match Cars shortly. But indeed, yes, as Mummy also was saying earlier, Bilji said, yes, this thing about, the humility aspect and then being able to share or hear, as Arjun heard, the secret. If you all go back to chapter 4, I believe, and again, I think it's chapter 4, in the first couple of verses, 1, 2, or 3, Sri Krishna at that time sets the stage by saying, I will share this secret to you. So he does mention that, but he says it's because, of course, Arjun is a devotee. And then he also mentions just historically that, this is eternal knowledge. It was explained to Vivaswan, the sun god, back then. But then as the Bhagavad Gita evolves, so you've gone through chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, now 9, that's when he reveals further that, okay, it is a secret, but also it's the king of sciences and those different 8 qualities that Mummy read out. So pavitram, kartum sukham, etc. All that he releases it. So again, it to me is important because many times it's helpful to look at just one verse or 2 verses. Like sometimes we'll do that on a daily basis. But of course, to read the entire Bhagavad Gita, whatever time it takes for anyone, that evolution is important because Sri Krishna releases that in stages. He builds it up till, of course, there is the, as they say, samam bonam, right? The entire crux. We know it's bhakti, but then bhakti, surrender, all that comes. So I'll just state that. And Daleji, I'll mention, yes, the one about the car stuff, it totally reminded me. This happened today is Saturday, so 2 days ago, Thursday. I'll make a mention. So niece is here, right? Visiting, family's visiting. And my niece, anytime, which is pretty much every day, there's some fun event, right? You're a kid, you're a child. And then that ends up being your favorite day. And then the next day, something different happens and it ends up being the favorite day. So genuinely, I'll quote her. I wish she was around right now in the class, but she says, today is the best day ever. Well, why? Because I took a few hours off from work and, just took her out for a small, flavored drink or something. She wanted to sit in the car. Oh, this is the best day ever. And then, of course, next day, maybe it was someone else. Maybe it was my mother or father, it could be her parents. And something else happened differently. And again, a treat or whatever. And today is my favorite day. Today is the best day ever. Indeed, kids have that, thought process, but it's so pure if you think about it. There's no single attachment to just one thing as the absolute. So I do like that story you shared about the cars as well. I believe Bilji once had shared that long back. I still remember he did like this. I'm sure we have that somewhere, but thank you. Thank you for sharing.
So, Gagan, actually, saints tell us that we need to become kids again. Okay? If we want to move towards God realization, we need to become kids again. Why? Because kids are very, very pure. Okay? Over the years, we have become impure. We want to bring that same nature of purity. And that purity, why? Because it does not have pride and it does not have arrogance. So we have to get rid of 2 things, pride and arrogance. And that is when we will become humble. So we have to practice that in our day-to-day life, becoming humble. If we want to go near God, humility is the most important condition to go near God. So we'll give a chance to other people to speak.
Yes, so let's see. Chandraji, are you able to come on video? I'll unmute you.
Okay, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Good morning.
To verse 7, it says, Kalpanye doshopata svabhava pachami samudachetaha yasya chantan bahutan me shishyasate ham shadima tvam prapanam. Not quite recitation, but I tried my best. Thank you. I am confused about my duty and am besieged with anxiety and faint-heartedness. And I am surrendered to you. Please instruct me for certain what is best for me. This has always come up to my mind. You know, even Minuji has, and you have also mentioned many times, that we are like mudas, dim-witted, and getting confused that I am anxious. But because I come from a different culture, although I am Indian, Hong Kong for so many years, I never studied Bhagavad Gita. I didn't even touch Bhagavad Gita. This is the first time I ever read about it. But every day I'm getting a little bit more and more closer. Every day I want to be connected. And it's like the day I don't read it, I feel I'm not doing the right thing. I'm out of the situation. So, and even the worse they did in my heart, you are you're noting my actions. Then why am I anxious? Then why am I afraid? I should not be fearing anything. I have this flaw of karpanya dosh, which is bothering me too much. And you, as a friend, and you, as my sincere guardian, I request you to please my heart and be, instruct me, give me the right direction, give me the right pathway to show. So all these chapters are an eye-opener to me. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much, Chandraji, Radhe Radhe. And I'll state for everyone's benefit, that is, I believe, chapter 2, verse 7. It's, again, a very important one with some strong words. So I think it translates to the flaw of cowardice. I'll keep it really brief, but Chandraji, we've mentioned several times, so admirable that with your, background as you shared right now, and as you shared earlier as well, and of course, we know how much, age and stature you bring to all this, there's no flaw of cowardice there, to put it, right? So it's always remarkable that you're able to participate, share these different learnings that are insightful to you, make a connection across the decades and the background. So thank you so much for sharing that. Appreciate it. Radhe Radhe.
Actually, I want to say that Chandruji is soaked in devotion. She is literally soaked in devotion, and she is so inspiring that at this age she keeps on learning, and she joins the recitation session also, and she tries her best, and amazing. She has participated in one of our recitation video also, which we produced for the participants. So thank you, Chandruji, for always being there, and you are really blessed that God and Swamiji met you, and you are wonderfully doing on this path of God realization. Over to you, Gagan.
Yes, we have an open slate. So next round of hands that would like to go up using the Zoom feature, you can tell us one verse from chapter 9, verses 1 through 19 that holds special value for you and why. So we'll now have Anuji, that's Mrinalji's sister. We'll have her next, and then Pranayji will go after Anuji. Anuji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
So I would say one thing, start by one thing, like my sister has always been an inspiration for us, even as we grew up as children for our studies. She was the one who kind of set the role model to how you should study hard in school. And she's now a role model for us in terms of how we should participate in these sessions, learn Bhagavad Gita, and especially the Kirtan aspect that she was mentioning earlier. So because of that, I completely agree with the verse she chose, 9.14, where when I joined JKYog, I wasn't too much into the Kirtan aspect. I used to join most of the daily sadhana sessions and learn from that. So for me, it was like soaking that knowledge in. But she was the one who kind of introduced us to a lot of Maharaji's Kirtans and started doing that. So the 9.14 resonates with me as well. And but along with that, the one thing I would like to say is, for me, meditation is one of the things that I find very, very difficult to focus my monkey mind on. And I've noticed that when I'm absorbed in kirtans, I can hold my mind quite steady over there, like Rup Dhyan combined with kirtans. So for that reason, I totally agree with the 9.14, but if I can go beyond the syllabus and pick a verse from chapter 6, which is something that I most recently have been reviewing your recap videos as well. And but even prior to that, that one verse resonates with me the most is because through Patanjali Yoga Sutra is where I turned to spirituality. So when I started doing the yoga lessons, Deviji used to show us Patanjali Yoga Sutra. She used to share and tell us to, watch Swamiji's videos. And one of the videos talked about Vairagya and Abhyas. So the 6.35 verse really resonates with me for that reason. If we have time, can I try to at least attempt to quickly chant? I'm not good at recitation or chanting, but I would like to try it out, if that's okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So where Sri Krishna, Arjun says to Sri Krishna that, this mind is harder to control than the wind. And Sri Krishna says, Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagena cha Gruhyate. So this verse I especially like because for people like me who are unable to keep their mind steady in meditation, it reminds me to not be hopeless and to keep practicing. Bring the mind back to God whenever it starts wandering away, as well as to practice detachment, which is so important for us to be able to attach our mind to God. So it's very special for me. And anytime I feel that I'm veering away from the path, this is the verse that brings me back and gives me hope to keep practicing and stay detached. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, thank you, Anuji. Wonderful. And your experience as you came through yoga towards bhakti. So you have tied these two verses beautifully. In Dhyana Yoga, in chapter 6, that is what we are learning, how to control this restless mind. That is the most important thing. This restless mind, it's a factory of thoughts where thoughts are coming every minute and we cannot control it. So through meditation, Krishna says that we can control this mind. And that is how slowly then Krishna takes us. There are, of course, many ways of meditation. But as we have learned in JKYog, that the sweeter ways are easier to adopt, and that is how Krishna has brought us to this Kirtatam Satatam, okay? Non-stop, Nirantar. Satatam means regularly, non-stop. Keep on doing that. Kirtanam. And in Kirtanam, it's very easy to attach the mind. And we all experienced this year in Bhakti retreat. For 2.5 days, we were all just doing kirtans, and we just loved it that everybody was telling Swamiji that we want to have more of these bhakti retreats, And when we have 48 hours kirtan, Akhand kirtans going on online, we are just immersed into it, and the meditation happens effortlessly. You don't have to put any effort, and your mind is just in remembering smaranam the God, shravanam you listen, and smaranam that you go into that total reverence and meditation of God. Thank you so much, and so grateful to you for this participation. And everybody keep note that after every few weeks, we want to have this Let's Converse, so that we give you a chance to speak. Other days only Gagan and I are speaking. So keep this in mind that we will have churn and learn, whereby we'll help you with questions, with quiz to go through all the verses. And next will be Let's Converse, where we give you an opportunity to speak. So let's hear from Pranay ji now.
Radhe Radhe. So, yeah. Okay, so my verse which mesmerizes me is again chapter 9, verse 2 itself. So, yeah, let me go ahead and read this. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitram Idam Utam Pratyaksha Swaha Gamam Dharmayam Sushuptamam Kartumam Avyayam. Okay. So, yeah, that so that one verse, and in that, if I look at the first line itself, Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam, so it basically says the knowledge which Krishna is going to present is the king of sciences, and it is most profound secrets. And the later part of the sentence says it is Pavitram Idam Uttam, so which means it is purest and the ultimate. Uttamam means ultimate. So Pavitram Idam Uttam, which actually mesmerizes me. That's the one part, because knowledge can be created anytime, and we can keep spreading and taking forward. But this particular knowledge, which originated at least 5,000 years ago, if we can consider that, and it has been passed down since that time through Swamiji to us right now, and it has always maintained its purity and is always on the top of the list. So that's really something and makes me feel wow, because now I was actually drinking a cup of milk over here prior to this, but these days foods get contaminated with various other things, adulteration or whatever business things keep happening. And similarly, knowledge can also, at times, people add their own views, perceptions, and contaminate and give a different view of the knowledge. But this particular knowledge of Bhagavad Gita has been passed down without any contamination and purity. So that's wow to me. And moreover, to add on to this, so many of you might know about Pareto principle, which is 80/20, where 80% of the message is contained in 20% of its information. So that way, the entire knowledge, however huge, infinite it is, we were able to contain it into small couple of few verses like this, and bring in that knowledge forward without any contamination, without attaching pride, lust, greed or anger to it, and bringing down forward is really a wow thing for me, and that makes me bow down to this Bhagavad Gita. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pranayji. And, very briefly, I'll say really purely said. I like your analogy there. No contamination of knowledge. And again, no contamination in how you presented that. And again, the coincidental, I think, coincidental situation, you've got your milk right there. And hopefully there's ghee in that as well. But yeah, pure as pure can be. Thank you so much. I'm going to quickly make an announcement. And then if we have just a few seconds, Golabji, I'll try to give you a chance, but really depends on time because there is a session right after this. So just bringing back the screen again for everyone's benefit, reminding you all that so far today we've been doing this Let's Converse session. So that's for Bhagavad Gita study. And then, as Anuji said, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, indeed, later today, starting in the evening in Dallas. If you're in the Metroplex, please do join Swamiji live at the temple, Radha Krishna Temple of Dallas in Allen. The Life Transformation Program for the next week starts today. So 3rd through 9th August, 6 p.m. will be yoga, and then 7 p.m. onwards will be the discourse, which is going to be on the power of thoughts through Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So please take as much advantage of that as you can. And starting tomorrow will be morning walks. So the next 6 mornings at 6:30 in the morning, of course, will be morning walks with Swamiji. So just wanted to make sure everybody catches that. Golabji, very quickly, just tell us a verse. We'll skip the details because we do have to hand it over to the next session, but I do want you to get a few seconds at least. So which verse is special to you, Golabji?
Yes, Radhe Radhe everyone. Radhe Radhe, Kuti Naman, and Guruji, Vaida. Grace of God and Guruji. My favorite and my devoted connection to God and Ishtaji for me. Ye Radha Mam Prapadyate, Tata. ये तमाम पद्धति तथा तथैव भजाम्यहम् अकर्तुम् अन्यथा कर्तुं मामनुष्य स्मर so very to all
surrender
and brings me to deeper connection with God and Guruji and
yes.
In detachment with the NATO and attachment with God and Guruji and the enlightening and highest happiness for achievement the almighty and glorious devotional spiritual path.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you so much, Gulabji. Yep. Mummy, I'll hand it over to you for closing prayer, the closing prayer, and wrap up. Vijayji will be for Sanskrit session next.
So let's take blessings from Radharani. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next week, and we'll hand it over to Vijayji. Radhe Radhe, everybody.